Hello, beautiful. I'm your host, Nicole Goff. Welcome to the Ecstatic Life Podcast, the podcast for women who want to live fully embodied, nervous system regulated, open-hearted, radiant, and alive. Here we explore the practices, modalities, and lived rhythms that return you to yourself, to your heart, to your body, your intuition, and your divine spark. This podcast is for women who are ready to awaken their inner creatrix, activate their inner manifester, and remember, an ecstatic life isn't a destination. It's the path we're walking together. Hello, and welcome back to the Ecstatic Life Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Goff, and today I am here with Maria Voorhees-Reincke. And Maria is an intuitive energy healer, certified sound healing practitioner, and Reiki Master who helps women move from surviving to soul. After leaving an abusive relationship at just 22 with 2 young daughters, Maria began a powerful healing journey that took her from talk therapy to energy work to the deep transformative world of sound healing. Through her business, MVR Healing, she now guides women who've lived in survival mode, helping them release trauma, reclaim their self-worth, and rediscover peace through sound, energy, and journaling. Welcome.
Hey, Nicole. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you on. And today we are going to dive into all of these different modalities that you work with. And I'm super excited to learn more about each one. I would love to start out, though, with your backstory. So as your intro, your short bio said, you were in an abusive relationship at a very young age with young girls. And I'd love it if you just tell us, how you ended up there and how you went into your healing journey.
Yeah, well, dating my high school sweetheart, you just kind of navigate through life a little messier, and just thinking things would get better over time. And things didn't get better. They just kept getting worse over the time. And I tried to leave and I would come back and leave and come back. And we had 2 girls together. But finally, when I was ready to leave, at the age of 22, I had a 2-year-old and a 2-month-old. And I just was like, you know what, this is not going to be how my story ends. Things were getting worse. My ex was getting deeper and deeper into drugs and things that I was like, this is not okay. This is not how it didn't align with my beliefs. And I was sick of just stuffing and stuffing and stuffing. So I made the choice one morning. I knew the night before I was going to leave. I just was like, okay, this is it. And the next morning, as he left for work, kissed him goodbye. And I said, I'll see you later. And this time it was me lying. I wasn't going to be home. I packed what I could into my Honda Civic and drove to my parents. And I was like, this is it. It's done. And it wasn't. I spent the next probably 5 years bleeding all of my unhealed trauma and dating more toxic men onto every area of my life until I got really just sick of my own stuff. Like I was like, yuck, I am a gross human and I want better for my girls and I want better for myself. And I started with talk therapy because I wanted to understand just the layers of life that I'd been through. At the age of 27, I'd realized I'd suffered and survived multiple layers of trauma. Not even just physical abuse, but mental. My mom was a closet alcoholic, so there was layers of that. My dad was great, but he was emotionally unavailable. And it was just like, yuck, I don't want to keep continuing this. So I started with talk therapy because I wanted to understand my abusers, but also, the saying, hurt people hurt people. It's like, okay, why? And I wanted to go down that rabbit hole. Like I'm more of a person of like, why is somebody acting like that? Like, if it's not love, it's a cry for love.
Yes, 100%.
So that helped. I did that for 13 years, graduated a few times, went back because there was another layer of life that was unraveling, but it was great. I was able to understand things at a level that just is what my soul needed at the time to help me grow and expand. But there was also a layer of, I got sick of carrying all of my crap. Like I would just be like, I can't wait to tell my therapist that. Oh my God. And it was like, yeah. And it was just like, I was just feeding the drama. I was feeding that toxicity. And I was like, yuck. So after about 13 and a half years, I graduated and morphed into energy healing because I was also started to experiencing that as well. So that was just another layer of, I still had to kind of talk about some things, but it was crazy how safe I felt. Like how after I got done with my sessions, I felt so relaxed and peaceful. And I was like, whew, I don't think I've ever felt this way. Like I felt like I was still in just survival mode. So the energy healing was great. But still, you're still revisiting some of that trauma. And at that time, I was also going to drum circles and sound baths. And I was like, I need this. Like, I need to learn this. I need to do this. And I started with just, one bowl here, another bowl there. And pretty soon I had a whole conglomerate. And I was like, I probably should really figure out what I'm doing with this. Like, I have like I've been not trained, but I started playing piano at the age of 7. I started percussion at the age of 10. So I had musical and rhythm in my background. Um, so I dove just head into energy healing in 2016, sound healing in 2020. But man, I have like any class that I can take that is all about the hippie woo-woo healing world. I just couldn't get enough in. So, and I'm still learning and I'm still growing and I'm still taking all the things because I feel like we're never done healing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sometimes that makes me mad, but
It's like an onion and the layers, you just keep
yes.
peeling them back and peeling them back. Another
Mhm.
way I like to look at it is the upward spiral. So you're going to keep coming back around to those same things. But each
Mhm.
time, hopefully, if you're ascending, you're getting further up the ring, but you always
Yeah.
come back around and have to deal with those same things again and again and again. That's just, yeah, it seems to be part of the healing journey. I I love it. This just so highlights how like talk therapy is like the gateway drug to these other modalities. Because I have
Mhm.
found the same thing, and a lot of other people that I've had on the podcast have had similar stories. And talk therapy can be amazing, but it does have its limitations. And I originally, I was in school for psychology. I wanted to be a psychologist. I was in talk therapy, and I found it in my early 20s as well. I found it very useful, but it did have its limitations and it doesn't get at the root. You can go
Yeah.
around and around and around. It's not a upward spiral. You can get stuck on a loop where you're just circling over and over and over. And it really does take either like, somatic or energy healing. It takes these other modalities to really get at the deeper root cause. So what was your experience with that? You said you had your first energy healing session. When was that? And what was your like initial response?
My first session was back in, I think, 2014, 2015. That's been a few years ago. And I just saw it was, somebody was promoting Reiki, but it was talking about balancing the chakras. And I was like, ooh, I'm familiar with my chakras, but ooh, somebody could balance them. I'm like, yes, I want in. So I scheduled the session, and my first session, I won't lie, first or even second session, I was a little freaked out. I was like, what is she doing? Where is she at? Like you're trying to relax, but you can feel somebody moving around the room. The room was very dimly lit. I was having different feelings and sensations, and I was seeing colors, and it was like, what did I sign up for? But but there was also a piece in it it felt very familiar to be like, oh yeah, you've done this before, you know?
Hmm.
So it was a little, I think anytime you try something new, we're always like, what is this? You know? But I just fell in love with it. And it was like I wanted more and more. And I found a practitioner in Red Wing that teaches healing touch. And I brought our middle daughter for a session with her. And she had some random health things like restless leg syndrome, some attention stuff. And man, that she slept so good after that. I was like, I'm in. I want to learn this. And I dove headfirst in 2016. I did levels 1 through 3 in healing touch. I was like, give me all of it. I took oracle card classes, intuition as well, because as I started working on people, I started hearing things.
Yeah, this is
And I was,
something else I've heard, from other guests that I've had too, is like, yeah, it brings your intuitive senses really online. So what was that experience like?
very interesting. I was like, okay, I'm hearing a couple of things. Like I would hear like 2 or 3 things before somebody would come for a session. And I literally spent probably my first 2 years of my energy healing journey after I was certified of just practicing. I just wanted to practice on people. Like it was my neighbors, it was my friends, my dog grooming clients, because at that time I was a full-time dog groomer. And it was like when they would come, it'd be like, okay, colors and the drama and joy. And it was like, okay, I don't know what these 3 things mean, but like whatever they are, it's related to um to the session. And one of the ladies, she had just lost her mom. And I was like, okay, so colors, what does that mean? And she's like, I'm still wearing black. I was like, okay, it's time to bring a little bit of color back in your life. It was, and the drama, there's a lot of drama after a family member dies. And then joy, like just try to bring just a little spark of joy back. So it was like, I was like, okay, I want to understand this a little bit more and really fine tune this and really work with it, but also learn how to control it, because I didn't want to be in the grocery store and like picking up everybody's stuff, So that was really cool. So it was like the energy healing then opened up my intuitive abilities. So then I started blending that into my one-on-one sessions, but also for myself to really start trusting my intuition, trusting my inner voice. And I always thought it would be like this big godly voice, like, just something different. But I really realized it
Big
was like,
masculine, like
yeah, like it was going to be like,
obeying.
yeah, for whatever reason. And I really had to just realize that it's the same voice that says like, oh yeah, wear the maroon kimono today. It's nothing. You just have to like, I always feel like our intuition is very straight to the point. It will deliver a nice, clear message. Our ego is what's going to give us like a big, long, complicated message, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
really trying to figure out like intuition to me is very straight to the point. But if it's coming from my ego, it's complicated. It's dramatic. It's got emotion. It's got attachment. So
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Also, it seems like the intuition comes as like a whisper too, it isn't a big booming voice. It's like a little soft voice.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So from the one-on-one energy work, then I morphed into sound healing. And I just really fell in love with that because you're able to work with more people at once. But I feel like there's that sacred circle of coming
Mm.
together and working with people and, you know, seeing everybody come together for the same reason, to release stress, self-care, like just loving themselves just fills my heart. Like even after every session, as I'm slowly bringing them back, I just look and like, I just want to pinch myself. Like I get to do this. I get to offer this beautiful modality for people to heal, for people to calm their nervous system and come back home to themselves.
Yeah, I've experienced sound baths, sound healing sessions, and they can be very powerful. And especially in circle, I think something about that. So I'm a big proponent of ecstatic dance. That's one of my favorite modalities. And a lot of times after this ecstatic dances, if we have people there that are sound healers, they'll do bowls or sometimes
Mm.
we've had gongs, different instruments, but it's always so powerful after that coming together, like you said, in circle with all of these other people sharing that energy. It's like almost like it amplifies. Do you find that too?
Oh, absolutely, because you're all there for like almost the same reason,
Mm-hmm.
and you're all have this sacred energy of wanting to just feel a little bit better.
Yeah. Everybody
So,
holding the intention at the same
mhm,
time. Yeah.
yeah. And that's
Yeah.
just so fun after the circle of like bringing them back and, everybody's just ooey gooey, they're just like, oh, and it's like, how was that? And everybody's just like, they can't even talk yet, like it's just, I don't know. It's just such a blessing. And I definitely know it's my calling. Like I've been diving into sound healing for over 5 years. I still take more training. So I think it's a little bit of self-punishment because I love learning and I like learning more of the depths of it. And like, I'm not a scientist, but the quantum physics or energy of how it really works and how smart sound healing is.
Yes. Yeah, I've heard some really very cool theories, but yeah, it is. It's in that we are frequency.
Mhm.
So it's interacting like our true selves. We are here in the body in the physical form right now, but our soul, our spirit, our non-physical selves, however you want to put that, like that is energy, that is frequency. So that the sounds interact with our non-physical bodies, our energy bodies, and that healing can happen in that way by resonating with those frequencies. That's so cool.
Yeah, because everything has a vibration. Everything, and the vibration is carried by water, and we are about 70% of water. So you think about, see those videos of having a Himalayan or a Tibetan bowl in water and you strike it and the ripples, that's the best way to show like how that just interacts with whether it's mental or physical or emotional or spiritual bodies. It works on every level, with every cell, with every brainwave, with every ounce of our essence. It works.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was something you had said in our initial intake conversation about releasing through these modalities instead of just talking about it.
Yes.
And so I do believe that like that, the either the Reiki, the energy work, and also the sound healing, it's like getting down on a cellular level. You're not just
Mhm.
up here in your brain going around and around.
Yes.
It's getting down on a cellular level in your body. So
Mhm.
do you want to talk some about your experience of that? Like,
For me, how I really fell in love with it, and some of my experiences, it started with the drum circles. I would go up to the cities at Lake Harriet and go to some drum circles. And as a percussionist, the sound is just like home to me. Like this, like, yes, this reminds me of drumline, but also like there was something in my bones that was like very ancestral, very ancient of like, this is what my body needs. And at one of the drum circles I went to had over 70 people. And in the middle of it would be a big buffalo drum and four people would play it. And I would literally just back my head up to the base of that and I would just listen. And it was like it drowned out every single voice in my head. And I was able to start feeling, and those vibrations just started bringing the stuff to the surface. And I could just lay there and stop. Nobody could hear it. It was just such a beautiful, sacred space to just like let that stuff come to the surface and let it be felt and let it be released.
wow, that's really beautiful.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
even in others, I just had a sound healing in Asheville, North Carolina. We were on vacation and I went to a sound bath and the gentleman played a shruti box, which is kind of like an Indian, how do I want to say it? Like an Indian accordion. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is for my funeral. But
Mm.
in like, and then he came through with the didgeridoo, and that's just a very deep sound. And it was like, ooh, okay, something needs to die. So it's just so interesting of like when you can be aware of like what's happening, what is the sound, what is the sound really triggering or activating, and what really is it? So it was really like you can have some people come and they just fall asleep, which is fine. Some people release, some people go on the most magical journeys, have visitors from their angels, their spirit guides, sometimes even loved ones. Like there's no right or wrong way, but no matter what, even if I've had some people say like, I didn't really feel anything. And I was like, that's okay. Like sometimes maybe you're not meant to, if you're very new on your journey, maybe you're not meant to feel anything right now. And every time you experience a sound bath, it's always different.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes we're not ready. And sometimes it takes practice too to actually be able to hear those whispers.
And to feel safe enough
Yes.
in your body, in the space, because sometimes being in a circle, if you've been through trauma, it's hard to really relax if you don't know the people around you. If somebody has moved and you're like, oh, what was that? Who's that? Like, so I feel like there's a couple of different layers that sometimes it does take a couple of times to experience it and really receive and notice the benefit.
Yeah. And so, how does that interplay with nervous system regulation? Because you use sound healing for regulating the nervous system as well,
Mhm.
right?
Yes. So sound healing, it gets us from that fight or flight to that rest and digest. All the different sound frequencies, the waves, the vibrations, they will interact with our brain waves and get us into that nice, deep, I call it the ooey gooey state. Like it takes us depends on your training, but I always feel like it takes a good 10 to 20 minutes to get out of that busyness. And I always tell my people, like, your monkey brain is going to be like, oh my God, I've got a dirty microwave at home. Like, oh, I got to bring the kids to sports. Like, our brain is trained to do that. And I'm just like, nope, just come back to the breath. Get curious about what you're hearing. What are you sensing? Like, just notice it, but come back. So it's a practice. I feel like, kind of like I always tell people, like, if somebody were to bring me to the gym, I'd be like, what do I do? Like it just is something that you learn, and it's something that your body remembers each time you go, like, oh, that's right, I'm safe. Oh, that's right, I can relax. Oh, I'm still holding tension in my right hip. Oh, time to relax that. So
And are there different instruments or different notes that connect to different types of healing? Like, is there an actual mechanics to it when you're going in? If you know that one of your clients is experiencing lower back pain or has some kind of injury somewhere, where there are actual like frequencies that help with that, or is it more of just an intuitive journey?
I would say for me, it's a little bit of both. I always start out my sound baths with a guided meditation, and then I start by drumming. If I have a smaller group, I'm able to drum over top of everybody because I feel like it's important to feel that vibration. That drum just really helps break up any kind of unwanted energies. It helps us feel into our bodies because let's face it, we're not always feelers,
Mm.
to be like, oh wow, I didn't realize my chest was so heavy. Or oh, yeah, I just had some lady say, I didn't like it. Like you were getting closer and closer to me. And I started just, getting a little bit more nervous. But it was like then once you were over top of me, I was like, okay, this is okay. And I was like, perfect. But the drum helps break up any type of, I feel, unwanted energies to kind of like clear that energetic body to be able to really receive sound. But my bowls are tuned to a 432 hertz, which to me is like that. I mean, there's so many different healing frequencies, and I feel like almost every frequency is healing because it's a sound, it's a vibration, it's a frequency. But 432 to me is like that magical frequency that mimics Mother Nature.
Mm.
And it's just that I don't know, there's just something perfect about it that people just say, "Wow, I love the tones of your bowls," and each bowl is tuned to a note which is associated with the chakra. So, yes, each bowl has their own healing frequency, but I also intuitively feel out the room of what does everybody need. So, I'm trained in piano and, percussion, and it's not like you're going to come and I'm going to be playing Mary Had a Little Lamb every time. It's going to be different depending on, I'm like, oh, okay, we've got some heavy stuff. We need to release a little bit more. We're going to play the gong for like a good 90 to 100, 180 seconds, like a good minute and a half to like 3 minutes. Like, let's just dissolve some stuff.
Yeah, and if each is tuned to a different chakra, do you feel into maybe like, oh, there's a lot of people in here that really need work in their root chakra, and like you stay in that note longer?
Yep, or I'll even do some dissonance of going from root to sacral back to root of like
Mm.
playing a little bit not so fun sounds to help break up that energy. So it's not sometimes my sound baths are nice and gentle and loving, but sometimes I am stirring up some of the junk so we can release it. But I don't play that too horribly long because it can be uncomfortable for some people who I say don't want to sit in their adult dirty diaper.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. But I was fine to sit in her shit.
Yeah. I've gotten pretty used to it by now. I'm kind of getting comfortable there.
Yeah. I'm like, whew, yeah, this is going to be gross, but let's do it,
Yeah.
But if you've never done it before, it can be super uncomfortable.
Yeah, it can. And there can be resistance. And like you said, especially for people who have had trauma, and if you're listening to this and, you're new to this world, you're new to energy healing, sound healing, all of these modalities, maybe you're still in the talk therapy, like level 1 healing, right?
Yeah.
You have to be gentle on yourself. Because for me, I know personally, when I tried to sit in meditation, I experienced some significant trauma in my teen years. And when I tried to sit in meditation as a 20-something-year-old, when I began my healing journey, it was literally painful.
Mhm.
It was so uncomfortable. My body just wanted to move and twitch. And it felt so painful to be in my body and to be
Mhm.
still in that way. And so for me, it really took more somatic work, dance and yoga. And I learned mindfulness meditation, like the walking meditation, before I could sit in stillness. And at that point, I didn't have any experience with sound healing, with sound baths, but I imagine it would have been the same to sit there in stillness and to allow those things to come up at that point. Probably would have been too much. It would have been overwhelming. So you have to be gentle with yourself. These things can really stir up some stuff that some of us may be not ready for. So
Mhm.
that actually leads me to another modality that you work with that I think is like such a beautiful introductory modality for like anybody that is experiencing any kind of trauma or has experienced any kind of trauma, which is journaling. So that is something you're big on. I would love to hear more about that.
I love to journal. Like in the beginning, I hated it because it was like, what am I doing? Journal about what? This is so dumb, because like I always think it's a new muscle, it's a new muscle that I had to really get comfortable with. And I learned about journaling with talk therapy, but also then kind of like towards the end of my talk therapy, I was also working with an energy healer. And, with my mom being a closet alcoholic, she had her own trauma. She lost her mom at a really young age and never got the help. Um, but I had a lot of unhealed trauma from my mom, and I didn't know how to really navigate it. I didn't know how to have like I didn't know what a healthy relationship was with my mom because it wasn't. And one of my healers that I was working with, she's like, you need to write your mom an FU letter. And I was like, whoo, can I send it to her too? She's like, no,
No.
you are going to burn it. And I'm like, fine. But I incorporate that also into my sound healing circles, full moon fire ceremony. We're writing our shit down that we want to release. Like write it all down. I always say like journaling. So I've heard this from two different people. Brene Brown says the best way to get things out of your head and out of your heart is through your hand.
Mm-hmm.
And we just re-listened to Matthew McConaughey's book on our way down to North Carolina. And he said he journaled to forget. I was like, yeah, we carry so much up here. We carry it up here. As it's like, I always say I always have like 742 tabs open in my brain. So we journal to release some of that pressure, release some of that yuckiness, that trauma, that hate, that anger, whatever it is. And we get it out on paper. And when you are going to burn it, I feel like it gives you a very safe place to really write down how you feel. And I always say this in circle that I journal and burn so I don't end up in jail in a white padded room or divorced. Because let's face it, life is hard some days. It's not always rainbows and sunshine and lollipops and whatever you want to call it. But when we can get really clear, I feel like it just feels good. We can release that heaviness and create space for more goodness to come in. Sometimes I feel like if we're not releasing our stuff, it's like we are carrying around this porta potty filled to the brim and we're dragging it carefully so it doesn't spill out onto everybody else, or it is spilling onto everybody else. So to me, journaling is like, it's the beginning. It's like the gateway drug again of like, just get it out there. Journal what you want to release. But I also like to journal the good stuff too. You know, we don't always have to journal the bad stuff. And I feel like there has to be a balance. So when I talk to people about journaling and burning, I want them to journal and burn, but I also want them at least to write one new thing, one good new thing after that. Because I feel like if we just release all the crap and we don't bring it in on a positive note, it's just going to come right back.
Yeah. Refill the cup. You empty it out and refill it. Wow. Yes.
With good stuff. And I feel like it's helped me. I mean, I've written a lot of FU letters and it's just good because it gets it out. But I feel like every time I wrote one, it created space for me to heal a little bit more of that relationship or that experience. And it really gave me a little bit more softness and grace with healing from my mom of like, okay, I was able to be like, thank you for giving me life. You know, thank you. Like I was able to be like, thank you for always bringing me with you to Pella, Iowa for Mother's Day, like some of my fondest memories. But I wasn't able to remember those fond memories because I was so bogged down by all the crap that I was focusing on. So I don't know. I think it's just a great way to really get clear. And if you have never journaled before, start with just a paragraph. Start with 30 seconds. And even I would feel like sometimes too, just when I started, I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be journaling, but I think this is really stupid. I don't know what the purpose is. Like sometimes we have to get a couple sentences out of the way, but I like to journal about, in the mornings, I like to journal and reflect about my day, the day before, to be like, wow, yesterday was such a great day. And then I just focus on like, I got to do this. I had coffee with my girlfriend, like just write down all the good stuff, because when we focus on the good stuff, we keep attracting more good stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's like the manifestation. It's like in the morning. Yeah. You be thankful, be grateful, focus
yes,
on the good. And then I find it really helpful at night to do the dumping before bed so that
Mhm.
it's not up in here. It's not affecting your dreams. You're not processing it while you're sleeping. So getting it all out on paper and just kind of dumping all the shit so that your brain can do healing and other other
Yeah.
productive activities instead of rehashing while you're sleeping.
Yeah. Or even like dumping, but then also like, okay, what do I need to know about tomorrow? So, yeah, 9 a.m. Zoom, 10:30 meeting, like so that it's fresh versus waking up. Like I did have a hot second today. I was getting ready and I was like, oh shit, I hope this is Central Standard Time and not Eastern, and I was like, it better be Central because otherwise I'm showing up in my PJs and my hair in a bun because it is 7:55, but I had a busy day yesterday. So it was like, we're still all guilty of kind of slipping back, but
I'm a big proponent of writing stuff down. You can look at my yeah. So I do that before bed too. I write down everything I need to do down to the little stuff, and so that way when I wake up, it's not like there's that anxiety of what am I doing today. It's just all right there. It's so much easier when you get it out of your head the night before, so it's not
mhm.
haunting you.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Well, so you have a freebie on journaling, right? Like you have yeah,
Yes.
tell me about that.
So I got my little notes here too, so I don't forget because this is new. So I do have a freebie. It is a free guide, The First Steps to Healing, a soul guide in reclaiming your life. So it's just, I feel like as women, we just have so much stuff we're responsible for, so much stuff that we don't even know how to even process or check in to feel like, okay, how is life really going? What's really hard right now? And name it. There's nothing wrong with it. But then let's find a little tiny solution, And sometimes I really want everybody to know too, it's like healing is not in the big things. It is not in Like, to me, healing is those tiny little things of like, nope, I'm sorry, I'm busy. Oh, we're ordering
Mm,
pizza and we're eating on paper plates tonight, versus like, no, we have to have soup and grilled cheese and sandwich. And like, sometimes healing is in those tiny little moments that allows us to breathe just a little bit deeper. It allows us to just come back home to ourselves, because I feel like, our energy is so scattered and we give it to so many things besides ourselves, that I really want to help women heal from trauma that they probably haven't talked about before, create a safe space for that, but help them unpack their stress, help them say no to things that are stressing them out and causing them that like that dis-ease or that disharmony, and like really coming back to be like, me and my hubby just had this conversation the other day of like, okay, our life is getting a little ridiculous right now, out of control. He does construction, so I know is trying real hard to wrap up things, because right now we're in early November, so we're getting ready for snow removal, but he's also trying to finish up all the things. Our life has been a little bit crazier at home, and I'm like, okay, we need a timeout. We need to reevaluate. Like, we didn't become self-employed to be this scattered right now. So we're just coming back to life and reprioritizing a few things and be like, where do we need to say no? Where do we need to give us permission to rest a little bit more, and all of that. So yeah, I have a free guide out there just to help start your healing journey, which will then also invite people in to join my 5-week virtual healing container as well. With being from small town, little lake city, I travel around quite a bit for my monthly sound baths, and sometimes I'm traveling an hour away, and then those people are traveling another hour away. So I wanted to be like, how can I really work with my people from a distance? Energy healing can be done from a distance. Sound healing can, but I don't have that incorporated into my 5-week program. But how important it is to really create 5 weeks of saying yes to yourself every week, and how that can just literally catapult you into your best life.
yeah. And especially as moms, that's something I talk about all the time. We are just giving and giving and giving and giving. And it's like that's my big thing is self-care and
Yes.
reclaiming your selfhood, because we find ourselves just spread so thin. And so taking that, whether it's, 30 minutes by yourself to just do what you love, or investing in a 5-week program and taking that time to give back to yourself, is just so important. Like, I know on this podcast, I probably, like, as they say, beat a dead horse about this, but it is so important, because you cannot fill from an empty cup.
No.
And actually, that reminds me of something that I'm interested in when it comes to these kinds of healing modalities. Like, as a healer, how important is it to fill your own cup? Because I imagine, especially with things like energy healing, that you are giving some of your life force in that. Is that true?
In my belief, no.
Ah,
And I go by my belief, because there's so many rules out there. There's so many myths and all of that. But in my training, because I'm certified as a Reiki Master, I'm also certified in Healing Touch. It's more of like you're connecting to a life force energy. It's not my energy. It's just a life force energy flowing through me, that I'm working with that person's energy. So you're not taking it on, you're not using yours. It's all about creating energetic boundaries, staying grounded, all of that. So um, there isn't, if I am feeling drained during a session, during a group sound healing, I know that I'm not grounded. I know that I need a quick realign and get grounded and just get realigned. So I don't feel like it's not my energy. I'm not using my energy to heal. I'm using a higher power, a higher source of healing that is then channeled through me.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing from other healers I've had on the podcast and intuitives and psychics, that it's so important to ground and to
Yes.
protect your energy. What
Yep.
practice do you use for that? Because it seems like it's a good daily practice for everybody, not just if you're, a psychic or energy healer.
Yeah. So for me, I like to call my energy back. So as women, as mothers, as a healer, as a caretaker, we're always giving, oh, somebody needs this, we need to take care of that. So for me, it's like I almost like pull my energy back in. And that can look like, sometimes it's like an armadillo, like you're just kind of rolling it back up. It could be like a flower slowly closing, but it's like pulling that energy in. And then I ground down into Mother Earth. I just feel like these imaginary roots going down into Mother Earth and connecting to wherever you feel comfortable. Like when I do a grounding meditation, it's like going through the grass, the black dirt, the bedrock, the water systems. But, like there's these sparkly crystal caves somewhere down there, and I just imagining my roots going down there. And then I bring that Mother Earth energy up and then I connect to a higher power. And to me, it is just it's spirit. It's just a higher power. It doesn't really have a name. It just has an essence, if that makes sense, of really bringing that energy up and then just really grounding. And I feel like when we are grounded, that is where we are centered. That's where we are in alignment and we're not running in 500 different directions, if that makes sense. Like we're like, nope, I don't have energy for that today. Nope, that's not happening.
Yeah, that's so important to be able to recognize too.
Mhm.
Because, yeah, again, as mothers, giving, 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 going in so many different directions and can be hard. It's important to have those boundaries, whether it's energetic boundaries, physical boundaries, boundaries with our time. It's so important.
That's a whole nother podcast we could
It,
talk about.
yep.
Boundaries.
Yes, I
Yes.
agree. I think I might have done one on that solo episode on that.
Mm. Yes. It's so important because we feel so bad, for saying no, or I'm sorry, I can't attend, or something has changed. And I'm like, no, it's healthy. And the people who need it the most will be the loudest ones about it.
Yeah. Well, so and do you with those practices, do you have a way now to align your chakras as well? Is this a daily practice for you?
Yeah. So I try to stay grounded every day, but also I do my red light therapy. So that's 15 minutes in the morning. And when I'm doing that, I'm just doing myself energy healing. So I'm just doing my self-care of like just going up, doing a chakra connection just from ankles to knees to hips to root to sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, wrist, elbows, shoulders, third eye, crown, and then just, that is my daily practice of like, yes, let's get, and then it's like, oh, oh, that's coming up again today. Okay. Like then I
Mm.
hear like, oh, here we are. We're dealing with that again. Like we got to let that go. Like my right hip has been a little crabby and it's like, okay, so it's kind of like I say, like, stiffen out my own shit. I'm like, gotta deal with that again. But it's good because then it just helps keep my energy clear, keeps me grounded and balanced and ready for the day.
And are you using these practices with your kids too?
So our kids are grown-ish. So our oldest is 25, our middle one's 23, and our youngest is 15, going on 16, but she's in that feral age. So um
Yes.
she's coming out of the feral age and kind of turning back into a human, which I'm like, oh. So my kids know it, but they don't practice it much, if that makes sense. Like
Mm.
they know mom's got all the woo-woo things. So like I'll send out a message to my, whether it's a group message or individually, be like, what's going on? I can feel. And they're like, not today, mom. I'm like, okay, well, I'm here when you need me.
Hmm.
Sometimes they just need to figure it out themselves. But no, it's interesting. Like some people who are healers, like, yes, I work with my family all the time. But what I really learned is I did in the beginning, but it was like then I was swooping in and saving them. Oh, yep, you're stressed. You better get on my table. You know?
Oh, interesting. Did you do the same thing with your hubby?
Yeah. So it was like, okay, so now I need to be like feeling a little funky. Do you maybe need to get on my table? It's been a hot minute. And he'll be like, I'm fine. I'm like, okay,
Typical
there.
man. I'm
Yeah,
fine.
yep, I'm fine. And even like when we were in Asheville, I was like, oh, you want to go to a group sound healing? He's like, no. I'm like, okay, cool. Drop me off. I'm good for a couple of hours. I'll wander. He was like, I'm going to go drive this parkway. And I'm like, I don't need to drive one more mountain loop. We've seen so much. So, and that I think it's the beautiful journey that I've learned too. In the beginning, I was like so hurt to be like, but I can help you. I can save you. And it was like, no, that is not the purpose of a healer. Having those boundaries to be like, here's my space. Here's an opportunity. And it's here whenever you need it.
That's such an important point because I do feel like a lot of us as healers or coaches, and I know for me in the beginning, back when I was in school for psychology, I wanted to be a therapist, and it was a savior complex. I was
Mhm.
like, I experienced sexual trauma as a teen, and I wanted to save other women who had had that experience. And it was very much that savior complex. And it's like, at some point, though, it's like you have to realize everybody is in charge of their own healing journey, and you can be there to facilitate, you can be there to support, but it is not our job to save anybody. And honestly, there's so many people, they're not ready. They're not
No.
at that point in the path where they can open up to certain things. For me, like I said, sitting in meditation, couldn't do it in my 20s. So we're
Mhm.
all on our own journey, and it's so important to recognize that.
Yeah. And if they're not ready, I feel like you can do more damage than good.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if they're not ready, like they're not ready. It is not like I always say, I have clients who are like, oh my gosh, I gotta get my daughter here. I need to get I was like, they will come when they're ready. Just calm down. Like we cannot swoop in and save them. Like you can plant the seed, you can share your experience, but you cannot, like when you are dragging people here and swooping in and saving them, you can cause more damage. And that's not good either.
Yeah, anecdotally, my one of my best friends talks about how she was taken to a Reiki session when she was very young, like 19 or something, by her older sister. And she said, I had my third eye chakra like blown wide open, and I saw all these things that I did not want to see and was not ready to see, and it scared the shit out of me. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I do understand. You have to be careful with stuff like that.
Yeah. And we're all entitled to experience our journey whenever we're meant to. It's not a race, you know, it's not going away. So it's just creating that sacred space to be like, yep, I'm here whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Well, and so what would you say to somebody that's listening that is curious about these modalities, where to start? Like, what advice would you give?
I would say start with wherever you're drawn most. I was drawn to talk therapy. I wanted to understand what was going on in my life and I wanted to understand how I could make it better. But then there was always like this missing piece, and I knew there was more to life. There was like something in this invisible realm that I knew was there, but I hadn't experienced it. So then it was with the energy healing, and then it was the oracle cards, and then it was the intuition, and then it was the crystals. I mean, I've even done mediumship classes, like all the things, like wherever you're curious about, start there, whether it's listening to a podcast about it, whether it's, if you're interested in meditation, there's so many different meditations on YouTube or people who create them. And I started meditating for sleep because when I still was struggling with feeling safe, and I moved out of my parents' house at the pathetic and embarrassing age of 27, because with two girls, their dad was in and out of jail and prison. So there was no
Mm.
support. And it was just home to me. And when I finally moved in with my current husband, he was an over the road trucker. So then I was alone and I really didn't feel safe with everything I'd been through. So I started listening to guided meditations for sleep because I needed some other voice to help drown out the voice in my head to
Yeah.
help me sleep. So wherever you feel curious and a little excited about learning, go there. If you're not excited about it, you're not going to enjoy it and it's not for you.
Yeah, so I'm going to link how to get in touch with you and how to work with you. And I'm hoping that by the time this podcast comes out in January, we will have a link to some live sound healing music that will be available. So
Yeah.
that'd probably be a good place to start
Yeah.
if you're curious. And I agree so much. It's the curiosity, and it's the childlike wonder and curiosity that most of us, it gets drowned out by our traumas, by all the adult responsibilities, by all this noise, but really starting to develop that. And I think it's very tied with our intuition, because those little pings that we get, that little curiosity, that's our intuition, that's our higher self, that's source telling us, follow that breadcrumb. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I think that's super, super great advice. And any other last words? How to work with you? Where to find you? Anything else you'd like to give to the audience?
Yeah, so you'll probably have it on the show notes, but you can find me on Facebook at MVR Healing LLC. You can find me on Instagram at MVR Healing, maybe LLC. I should have wrote that down.
I'll
My
link
web,
it. I'll link it in
yeah,
the show notes.
my website is MVR Healing. That has all of my, whether it's one-on-one sessions, my crystal shop. I have a little crystal shop as well with crystal bracelets to help in your healing journey, some crystal sets, some room sprays. Um, yeah, I think that's about it.
And where are you locally for local sessions?
Lake City, Minnesota.
Lake City, Minnesota.
And where are you again?
I'm in Florida.
Hot damn. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm in North Central Florida, a little tiny town called Keystone between Gainesville and Jacksonville. So, yeah.
And there is a Lake City, Florida in
There
Florida.
is. It's very close to me, actually.
Yes.
I grew up right
So,
outside of Lake City.
oh, that's fun. So, yeah. So, yeah, I'm in the small little town, southeast Minnesota. So, but I do travel around to different areas. I'm in Rochester. I'm in Chatfield. I'm in Zumbrota. I'm in Nearstrand. I'm a little bit of everywhere. So,
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciated your insight in this conversation.
thank you so much for having me. It was so fun to finally connect and share some woo-woo stuff.
Yeah, and I was gonna say thank you to Candace Dudley for
Yeah.
connecting us. She is awesome. So I did a
Mhm.
podcast with her. Oh gosh, about 6 months ago. We did a podcast trade. So yeah,
Yeah, she's fantastic as well.
I'm glad she connected us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope to talk again soon.
Yes. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mariah.
Bye bye.